Hey everyone, welcome back. Stacker here. In today's numismatic news and information for the 3rd day of May 2023, I'm going to take you over to JM Bullion so we can look at the live spot prices. We can look at the inventory on those American Silver Eagles, as well as the premiums on those American Silver Eagles. But before that, I'm going to welcome you over to Stacker Talking this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. on the West Coast. Also, huge shout out and a big thank you to all of our channel members. Really appreciate all y'all's support. And if you do believe I am making quality content here every single day for you, please consider joining. It's $1.99 a month. That's not even a cup of coffee every month, right? Now over here to JM Bullion. Looks like gold is up 8 cents to 20.29.53. Silver down 6 cents to 25.59. Platinum up 6.82 to 10.87.33. And palladium up 7.39 to 14.92.20. Yes, I am giving you the live spot prices, even though you might see this maybe a year from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever. But this is documentation for posterity's sake, right? So there you go. So gold's hanging in tough above that $2,000 mark. I'd say probably about less than $50 from its all-time highs. Now silver, if you couple in the premiums with this particular ask price, you're probably going to say, hey, you know what? Silver's almost at its all-time highs as well, right? So I think there's something going on there. Look at the platinum just above that $1,000 mark right there, 1087.33, and the palladium just under that $1,500 mark we're always talking about. Now, credit card PayPal payments for these American Silver Eagles, you're looking at $48.52, less the difference of $22.59. You're looking at a premium of $22.93. Yes, it came down about $1 or $2 lately, but for how long can that premium stay this low, right? That's not that low, is it? But it is lower than what we've seen it, right? And is that an opportunity? Is that a sale, if you will? Possibly. Now, here we are at MarketWatch.com, and I haven't shown you the U.S. Mint bullion sales yet. So at this particular time today, something major happens, right? It's this week's major U.S. economic reports and Fed speakers. That's not an understatement at all, right? So here we go. We've already had May 1st. We've already had May 2nd. Today is May 3rd, and bam, there it is, folks. If you didn't hear the ominous music play in the background when you read that, I don't know what's going on. You might want to check your pulse. So 2 p.m. today, the Federal Reserve interest rate statement comes out, and, well, I think everybody's going to be paying attention to the, well, not that. Oh, where'd it go? Hey! Okay. Paying attention to all these numbers after that 2 o'clock time. That's going to be super duper interesting. Now, over here to the United States Mint, sales totals by month are updated every weekday by 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, nope, nothing, no new tale to tell at all. And let's face it, we saw that JM Bullion had deliveries of American Silver Eagles on the 12th, I believe, and on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably wrong, but listen, these numbers haven't changed a whole lot since then. And here we are at the 3rd day of May. And yes, we could see maybe just a little bit of movement here, but I don't know. I don't suspect we will. I think we'll see May totals come up before we see anything from April. Now, this is a pretty scathing article from this gentleman from FX Street, and it's from Money Metals Exchange. And its name, a gentleman's name is Clint Siegner. And it was written on 5/1/2023, and much has changed, right, since 5/1. I mean, just yesterday we had a lot of action in the banks, right? A lot of fear, I would think. Now, title of this article is Ongoing U.S. Mint Failures Bring Discredit to America and Raise Costs. Wow, that's brutal, right? So that's failures, discredit. That's like, yeah, that's a gut punch. That's like words of flamethrower value right there. Now, we are 1/3 way through 2023, and it has certainly been interesting in the bullion markets thus far. The year opened with supply and demand for coins, rounds, and bars pretty well balanced, right? Pretty much typical for the last year. Demand surged, however, when the failure of Silicon Valley Bank awakened investors to the possibility of systemic problems among smaller and regional banks. Folks, what had just happened yesterday, right? More fear. In the background, gold and silver prices have been drifting higher. Well, I would say that's an understatement, okay, because we have seen, and this is from Michael over at Silver Squeeze and other people as well, like not JM Bullion, but SD Bullion, APMEX, having unprecedented orders, right? Just off the chart orders, had to actually impose limits, right? You had to spend $500 at certain bullion dealers to even get a deal, to even get their attention. Because if you're doing $100, $200, $300 deals, they don't even want to see you at the door. They're like, yeah, go that way. Pound sand. They don't even want to talk to you. They were that busy, they could turn away business. That's a pretty amazing problem to have, right? Now it says here, for the moment, retail bullion demand has eased, and the markets seem to be taking a breather. I seriously, I don't believe that too much. Now things can change quickly, however. Yep, I think, yeah. Probably should have waited a day to write this article. For example, FDIC regulators just arranged a distress sale of First Republic Bank to JP Morgan, that should be a capital, and more banks could run into trouble. Rising interest rates are destroying bank balance sheets. The problem figures to get worse when the Fed expected to raise hikes again this week. That's today, folks. Problem gets worse when they expect to hike rates again today, this week. Now, add plenty. This is the whole picture. This person's really trying to get the whole picture to you, right? And that's kind of hard because we don't usually see that. We're really kind of compartmentalized in our news, and it's just basically, it's very narrow of a scope, and it doesn't really give you the big picture. So when you do get an opportunity to see big picture articles, you probably should be reading them, right? Add plenty of geopolitical, that means war, uncertainty to the economic uncertainty, and all points to continued demand for physical bullion. Now, there's that trouble going on in Sudan. There's also food disruptions, right? I mean, this is really getting ugly, folks. Here are some major factors to consider on the supply side, starting with the U.S. Mint. Oh, here comes the scathing criticism. There are, unfortunately, no signs that our nation's sovereign mint is going to start living up to its charter and produce coins in quantities sufficient to meet public demand. And what are they talking about there, folks? Well, that's the charter, and this is Public Law 9961, July 9th, 1985. I know that looks ancient, right? But they did a pretty good job when they put this over there. So I'm going to go to quantities over here with the find, and I go right here to short title 2, Liberty Coins, under section 202512, title 31. United States Code is amended by striking out subsections E and F and inserting in lieu thereof these two. Notwithstanding E, any other provision of law, the Secretary shall mint and issue in quantities sufficient to meet public demand coins, which are 40.6 millimeters in diameter. I think you see the point right there. A lot of people believe that the United States Mint is not fulfilling their legislative obligations, not fulfilling their duty to the United States people, or even following the law, right? So that, but who's going to go, hey, we're going to take you to court so you can make more of these, right? So we do see right over here that the United States Mint, it looks like they're capping these sales, right, at 900,000, right? And 1 month a trend doesn't make, and 2 months a trend doesn't make. However, 3 months a trend makes, I would think. Now, let's get back to that scathing article. Despite the massive spike in demand for bullion coins 3 years ago, we all know what happened there, right? The dysfunction, it's rough. That might not be that nice of a word. Dysfunctional U.S. Mint has somehow managed to produce fewer coins. I think they did really good, depending on if you remember what had happened 3 years ago, but whatever. Officials are blaming COVID pandemic and difficulties securing enough blanks. Here we go, folks. We're talking, that's going to happen again, if not already happening right now. I think there was a video done about the American Silver Eagles and having a planchet shortage for those. So what does that mean for the rest of the year? Because we do know that those Abraham Lincoln presidential medals, well, that doesn't ship until July 7th, which is just 3 days after the July 4th holiday, right? So that's interesting. And then we have July, I believe, 17 for the uncirculated Morgan and Peace dollars. Will the United States Mint be able to secure enough planchets for that in time to drop all of them at once? Or will the United States Mint kind of do the trickle it out like they did with those commemoratives last year for the, what do you remember, for the purple hard coins? They kept moving back the day that they would drop or at least be delivered, probably 3 or 4 or 5 times. Could we see that again this year? Absolutely. Do we want to see that again this year? Absolutely not. No, not even close. Now, the Mint produced roughly half. Let me read this again. Now, but those excuses ring hollow after so much time about those blanks, right? The Mint produced roughly half as many American Silver Eagles in 2022 than it did in 2021. That means they're dropping, right, the production. And who knows what they're going to produce this year? Because check this out. Now, based on 2023 sales to date, the Mint is on track to produce roughly 20 million Silver Eagles this year. That's just over 4 million coins than 2022, folks. Do you really believe the United States Mint is going to make that many coins this year? I don't know. But they could, and that would be a disservice, right, to all the Americans that are trying to pick up these American Silver Eagles at a reasonable cost and not with these ridiculous premiums. Imagine if the Mint did actually produce these American Silver Eagles in the quantities that put this premium at $2, $3, $4. These will be snatched up so fast right about now, and the other mints all over the world wouldn't be having as many sales as they are right now, right? The Australian mint, the Perth mint, the Austrian mints, the Royal Mint, and so on and so forth, right? Even the private mints. It's so interesting. It says here, for sake of comparison, U.S. Mint produced 47 million coins in 2015, and overall coin demand that year was well below the current level. And folks, if you can't get bullion American silver eagles, do you buy the proof American eagles, right? That's questionable. Now, and then I'm talking for investments, not for just numismatics and, I'm collecting it, right? Premium for gold and silver eagles are an all-time high because of shortages caused by the mint's embarrassing rough right there. Production failures. I don't know if it's a production failure. It seems like a choice. This also contributed to demand for alternative products and put pressure under those premiums as well. Man, this is just, I think that's true. That's nailed it right there out of the park. The good news is that other producers, both private firms and foreign governments, have been rising to the occasion. Most mints and refiners around the world have added significantly to capacity. When demand for bullion first surged in March 2020, dealer inventories evaporated within days. Lead times for delivery extended to several weeks. And folks, we've seen that recently too. The recent surge of demand was significantly larger than anything we've seen in the past. But lead times as money metals exchange moved out briefly. Yeah, that's yada yada. Appreciate you trying to sell your stuff. That's awesome. I will leave a link in the description for this particular article. Now it says, putting aside the inexcusable problems at the mint, the industry's increasing capacity bodes well for investors. Premiums on physical metals probably aren't going back to pre-pandemic levels, but they are moderating. And we can see that those premiums are moderating, but for how long, right? For how long? Now, if you want if you want to learn more about the American Silver Eagle, and this is the proof one, I will leave a link in the description for this. And this is the authorizing legislation that I showed you here, right there. You can check it out yourself, and that can be found there, as well as American Eagle coins. And it talks about the old reverse, the new reverse, all that good stuff. Now, off to the plus ones. There's some good stuff here. Bam! I bet you didn't want to. I bet you didn't see that coming, right? Silver has two big motivators. Bill Holter said this. And this is the question: which is stronger, fear or greed? Okay, now take a guess. Where on that scale of fear or greed do you think we're at, right? Number one, greed, FOMO, fear of missing out. What happens to the market and who's buying when that happens, right? Not everybody is buying when that happens, right? But check it out. Raw fear is not FOMO. And what happens to the market when there's just raw fear? And who's buying at that point? There's two different worlds, folks, right there. Raw fear is almost panic buying, right? Greed and FOMO is strategic buying, okay? And I think you can start there to separate those two to make a distinction. Now, over here to 99.9 KOIN Coin News Radio. This is Alphaville. Nope, it's not. It's Fishbone. Psych. This is a movement in the light. This is one of my favorite bands from when I was a kid, and this song is so deep on so many levels, you might want to listen to the lyrics. And if you do, congratulations. It's just for you. See, it's not for everybody, right? If you see it, you see it. You see it, you don't. No big deal. Wait, if you see it, you see it. If you don't see it, no big deal. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you here today, folks. I want to thank y'all for watching. Thanks for dropping by. Hopefully we'll see you here later on this morning at about 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. Stacker out.